Alright, welcome everyone to another edition of Buffalo Bills Training Camp Preview. And this time we are going to talk about the Bills receiving core for the 2018 NFL season. And obviously we've talked about the quarterback and running back, and today we're going to talk about the receiving depth chart for the Bills and what they'll look like in the 2018 NFL season. And there are people that had said they're concerned for this group. There are a lot of reporters out there that think the Bills have after their first two their first two players, they have the talent really drops off. And although that is true, I think I always believe that the receiving performance dictates how the quarterback is playing. So if either AJ McCarron or Josh Allen are playing well, or even Nathan Peterman, then the Bills receiving core will have a great season. And that's really how it is. I mean, you got to think of Tom Brady. Can you think of a couple receivers that he has had in his career? They're always changing, but the Patriots offense is always one of the top offense in the league because Tom Brady delivers the ball well. And that's really how this season can play out with the Bills receiving core. And obviously the first person that should be mentioned in the Bills receiving core is their top receiver, which is Kelvin Benjamin. Obviously, Kelvin Benjamin was brought over here by trade with Carolina during Halloween last year, and he made a minimal impact the last half of the year. He was hurt, and he only scored uh, two touchdowns for the Bills in the second half of the season. So he needs a better performance this year, as this is going into his contract year. So this is an important year for him, and I think he'll have a big year. I think the Bills' quarterback position is a little bit better. I think AJ McCarron or Josh Allen, and maybe even Nathan Peterman, will throw the ball downfield a little bit more, which will open up the offense. And Kelvin Benjamin is a tall receiver that likes to outplay the defensive back for the ball. And I believe Josh Allen will do that if he's starting, and even I believe AJ McCarron will do that as well. So I think he'll have a big year, and he has to have a big year for this receiving core and this offense to move well. So he is the key to the success of the receiving core. The second person I think will make the team is Zay Jones. Obviously, he's had a disappointing start to his career. He was a second round pick by the Bills last year, and we all thought he was going to maybe not be a star, but be productive week in, week out, because he set the record for the number of catches in college. And we thought that could translate to the NFL. Obviously, transitioning to college for a receiver is tough, but it can be done. And obviously, last year, Jay Jones struggled. 27 receptions, 316 yards, and two touchdowns. Not the best performance that the Bills would hope for. So, and obviously during the off season, he was involved in a bizarre incident in his hometown, and as well as being injured during minicamp. So he has an uphill battle, but I think eventually he'll take that number 2 spot. And this is, in my opinion, a big year for him as well because the Bills need both Kelvin Benjamin and Zay Jones to be successful and really get back and really be a productive 1-2 duo because after Zay Jones, the talent drops off, and that could be a concern moving into the season. And I believe Zay Jones will hopefully be a lot better at catching the ball, which he struggled at last year, which I thought was strange because he did do a great job in college, but obviously, that was hard for him transitioning to the NFL. So hopefully, a full off season, a full training camp under his belt, a second training camp will help him be more confident in catching that ball. So the next receiver that will make the team is Jeremy Curley. He was brought over here in a free agent deal. He was with the Jets last season and was with the Jets for most of his career. He's a good slot receiver. I think he could be a really good number 3 receiver. He could go under the middle and catch those tough passes. And he he had 22 receptions, 217 yards, and 2 touchdowns last season, and I think he'll have a role in this offense. I believe so. I think he'll be a good um, slot receiver, and he could come up with the big catches when needed. And he was okay with the Jets. He was great with the Jets early in his career, and I think that will continue as he moves on with the Bills this season. So that's where I see uh, him shaping out in the Bills offense. And then number 4, I think the Bills will keep 6 receivers. Number 4 would be Andre Holmes, and he had 13 receptions, 120 yards, and 3 touchdowns last season. And he's a good receiver that you bring in on offense, and he's actually a really good red zone threat. He does a good well at getting open at the goal line, which is good for the Bills. And he did a great job last season. He didn't do much, which is a concern, but I think he'll still make the team because really the Bills don't have any other talent like him on their receiving depth chart. So I think he'll make the team and probably switch out with Jeremy Curley for that slot receiver job and also have some deeper routes. So I think that's what will happen. I think Brian Dable's offense is geared toward the receivers making a play. It's kind of like the Patriots. It's kind of like what we've seen from the Patriots the last really 20 years, where uh, throw they throw passes, short passes to their receivers, and they have them make the play. And I think that's how the offense will work this season. And I think number 5 will be a battle between Malachi Dupre and Robert Foster. And I think Robert Foster will come out on top. I think he had a good mini camp. He had a first team reps during the OTAs in the spring, which is a good sign for him. And he played under Brian Dable in college as well, so he knows the offense that Brian Dable is trying to instill in Buffalo. So, and he was impressive in college, and it'll be interesting to see how he transitions to the NFL. He won't have I don't see a big impact by him, but I think he'll have a role in this offense. And then number 6 will be Ray McCloud. I think he'll be utilized just as a punt returner. He was a really good punt returner in college, and I think he'll nail down that role in training camp, uh, as well as he will be in battles with uh, different players for that punt returner position. But I think he'll make the team as a punt returner. So 6 receivers for the Bills. Going down the list, Kelvin Benjamin, Zay Jones, Jeremy Curley, Andre Holmes, Malachi Dupree, and Ray McLeod. Uh, so I think they will be part of the Bills' rotation this season at the receiving position. And there's a couple players like Austin Proehl, who I think will be a practice squad guy that the Bills will look at next season and to see how he progresses through his rookie season into his second year. And as with the receivers, I'm going to talk about tight ends as well because it's going to be mostly the same. Charles Clay, who I believe is one of the Bills' biggest playmakers on offense that they have. And he had 49 receptions, 558 yards last season, 2 touchdowns. He had a good start to his 2017 season last year. Then he got hurt, and it took him a while to readjust to the offense as he came back, and he needs to show more. I believe he needs to show more this season. I believe he can make plays, and I think with better quarterback play, he will, and he'll have a better season. But he needs to have a solid year for the Bills' offense to be successful because he's been open and I would say he's been successful in Buffalo, but there is more that he could do, especially this season. And then rounding out the tight ends would be Nick O'Leary, a solid number 2 tight end. He made he made great plays last season, I believe. So I think he's a number 2 tight end. And then Logan Thomas will be that third tight end. Uh, so we'll see how he progresses. He could also be cut too. I think the Bills will keep 2 tight ends if they keep 6 receivers. So it could be either Charles Clay or Nick O'Leary. So those are the tight ends. They'll be with the Bills this season, I believe. So overall, I think the Bills' receiving core will go as far as the Bills' quarterback performance will go. And obviously, the first 2 receivers, Kelvin Benjamin and Zay Jones, they need to have a productive year so that the Bills' offense can succeed this season, and that will be the key moving forward. And that's very critical for the Bills to have both Kelvin Benjamin and Zay Jones be great this season. I think that's key. So that's my review of the Bills tight end and receiving battles as we head into training camp. 19 more days until training camp begins. So we're getting down to the home stretch. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about the Bills' offensive line, which has had changes, and that will be the key to the Bills' offense this season is their performance on the offensive line, especially with the replacements by the retirements of Richie Incognito and Eric Wood. So that's where we're going to go next. And leave a comment, subscribe, and that'd be great. So see you next time.